So today in this video, we're going to talk about how to do part writing for second inversion chords. This is on page 141 in the 7th edition of Koska. And it's pretty basic. It just says, look, in 4-part writing, the bass note, which is the 5th of the chord, because remember the 6/4 means the 5th is in the bass, should be doubled. And exceptions to this are rarely encountered in tonal music. So that's what we do. We double that. If you're in 3 voices or less, then you start to reduce those kind of things. It even says generally best to have all members of the triad present, but sometimes the root or third is omitted, in which case the 5th is doubled. So you can have the full chord, or you can even double the 5th, like in this example right here. I'm going from a 2 diminished 6 to a 1/6/4, going to a 5. So my 1/6/4 is my E chord right here, and it's got B flat, the 5th, and just the E and no third. You can get a lot without the third of the chord there by context of the rest of the music, or it says you can even drop the root. I just want to go back and emphasize again that we talked about how a second inversion triad, even though it spells a certain chord, is not that chord, right? It doesn't function like that chord. It may have the parts and pieces of that chord, but it's not that chord. It's like if you see your best friend who is now a zombie, they're just a zombie that looks like your best friend. They're not your best friend anymore. So in this case, here in this example, you see we have a 5 chord and the notes go up and down. This is a pedal chord, which is just an ornamentation of the 5 chord that surrounds it, right? And that's why this B flat, or B, sorry, that hangs on through here is the most important note. And if we were going to double a note, we would double that note because it's actually the root of the 5 chord, which this is just a part of. Okay, here in this case, again, it's 3 parts, so they're not doubling the 5th, but you can see that the notes are moving smoothly. And this is a cadential tonic 6/4. It's at a cadence point. It ornaments the 5 chord that comes after it. It's on a stronger beat than the 5 chord, and it's as long, 1 beat or longer than the other. Those are all the elements there. And in this one, we don't put a bracket around it. We bracket underneath it, call it a 5. Here's another cadential 6/4. And again, they've chosen to double the bass note, which is the 5th of the chord, which is the root of the 5 chord, because this is really just an ornamentation of the 5 chord that these notes resolve down into, making it a 5 right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn over here to page 143, and I'm going to do some of these on some staff paper, and you should follow along and do the work after I've done it. I guess you could do it while I'm doing it, but in some ways it would be better if you watched me do one of these, paused it, and then did it on your own to see if you could remember and internalize what I'm doing, and then go back and see if we got the same thing. Then watch me do the next one right here, and then try and repeat that without looking at the answers, and then come back and see again. So that's how I would suggest doing this, okay? So I'm gonna get this out of the way, and I will quickly draw in what we need here. I'm going to use pen because why not? Now, the reason I'm using pen is so that you can see it better, okay? Because you might be on a small device or, well, lots of reasons. The resolution on Zoom meetings is necessarily kind of, bad too, or poor, just so that they can get more content with less data. Okay, so this goes da, so, fa, mi, re, and then do. It's good when you write these things to practice your solfege or play them on a piano, right? I don't know that I'm in the right key, but relative to the note that I chose as do, that's what it sounds like. I guess I could get in the right key. So, fa, mi, re, do, mi, fa, so, do. Now, I'm gonna give you a secret for writing these things in exercises that doesn't always work when you're writing in real life. But if I know that I'm going to have to double my 5th here, and it's the focus in an exercise, I might start by setting this up like this. Now you got to be able to spell all your chords, and you got to be able to place these notes correctly. I guess what I'm saying is if I know that this is the point of it right here, and I'm going to have to double this guy up, the C, because I need to add an alto and a tenor right here, then given the tight space, I think that's what that's going to be right there, right? So remember, 1-6-4 chord, 6-4 triad, double the fifth, which is the bass note, because the fifth is in the bass, right? And then it's nice to have a complete triad right there. Now that I know this, I'm actually just going to resolve it out, and then I'll work backwards from that. And that's my trick. If I know that there's a linchpin or a specific point, like you might remember in the composition that we were writing together as a class or parallel writing, in the bridge, it's like da 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 da. Right there at the bottom, we knew that we were going to have to drop out of a 4-voice texture, or everybody's going to have to go to unison or something because the lines are so low and close together at that point. Anyhow, same idea. We know this is what's going to happen, so we can just ignore this and make it fit afterwards. And here we go from here. Well, this is a C chord, C, right? And so now we'll go and leave the tenor there like that, right? And then these two guys come down like that. Can't use a formula because it's not a root position chord. Root's not doubled, but we can say, well, the guideline here is to double the fifth of the chord and then resolve moving everything as smoothly as possible to the next chord and, try and avoid parallelisms and things. But that's not going to happen here because these, oh, by the way, these are not consecutive octaves because these are not chord changes, right? 1-6-4 is considered an ornamentation of the 5. So even though we have a unison note here and then an octave right there, remember that's if the chord changes. And the chord is not changing, it's just an ornamentation of the 5 chord resolving down. And then these guys go smoothly, C, C, E, G, that's really nice. Now we can do a formula, which is movement by fifth, right? I think, in this case, you could try common tone, but it's not gonna work because the C would hold over and then these would not move in the same direction by step because you'd end up with a D there. It's not gonna work, this will be non-common tone. So that's everything moves opposite. Or with the soprano, this is going to go down, and that's going to go down like that. And look, we ended up with root, third, fifth, and root again, which is nice. Okay. And by the way, that sounds like this. Oh, it's not loud enough. Here we go. Well, here's great. Let's go backwards now. Or we sort of can just kind of sketch and fill it in. This is my 2 chord says G minor. I've got a B flat and a B flat already. I need a G and a D. Well, I mean, we can put them in and check them, I think, right? Like if the G is there and the D is there, my spacing is good. And I can just check my doubled note is the B flat going into opposite direction. So it's not another doubled note. My G is above my D. So that's my root and fifth, but it's made a fourth, and parallel fourths that are going to be fine. So I think that's probably going to be what we want to do right there. The ranges all look good. And then we just got to get to the beginning here. A 1-6 is an F chord. I don't have an F, right? So probably just right there, right? This would be a root and fifth going into a third. So that's not parallel fifths right there. So what to do with this? Well, I guess you could be up on the F if you want, but that's a big, big place to start and jump. And we already have the F. I think we just have a non-standard doubling right there. And let's just check ourselves. Here's our doubled note, the C's, and they go opposite direction. Here's my root and fifth. They go opposite direction. This is a root and fifth, but it's upside down, so it's parallel fourths. In fact, the entire middle line is parallel fourths almost, right, until we get to there. This is going to sound really good. It's going to be, right? And that's how we do it. Okay. I'm going to do one more with you, and then I will give you some assignments, not in this video, but in Canvas or, in the actual assignment. So I will set up the next one right here. And you can do the same, or you can pause this and go back and try and write this again on your own. That would be great if you did. See how you do while I set this up. So 2 sharps and 2 sharps And this is right there like that. And again, I think it's great if you can use your solfege to hear this stuff. Looks like we're in the key of B minor, which would be May, Fa, May, Re, right? So we don't get a complete everything. So we're going to sing this before, play it too, to confirm that we sing it correctly. You should always do that. If you ever have a piano available to you and just your ears, that would be good. Oh, my pen has given out on me. Time to change. And the closest pen at hand is purple. So this is great. 1 and 4, 6. There's my 1, 6, 4 right there. It's got a bracket around it. It's going to be a passing chord, right? Because if you look, the bass line here is filled in between, like it's a passing note between the 4, 6, and the 4. And so we would call this a passing chord like that. And then there's my 5 chord right there. Okay, let's get our key. Bum, 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 ba, me, fa, re. Right? And this is do, le, so, fa, so. And they sound like this together. And as far as melody goes, that's pretty mediocre. Koska would, if you wrote that and gave it to Koska, they would say, no high point, it meanders too much. So hypocrisy, points for them. All right, let's figure this out, which is that this here needs to have a doubled fifth, right? The F sharp needs to be doubled. I think the place the F sharp is going to be is right there. And let me explain why. That's really high for the tenors, right? But it's good range for the altos, and the spacing is going to work out really, really well. And so this chord is a B, D, F sharp chord. The F sharp's doubled. That means we need a B, and that's going to fit right there. And, quite honestly, Koska Payne setting these things up so we can do that. Now, if we know that, then, we can get in and out of that pretty easy. Rather than resolve it, let's just kind of work backwards this time, and then we'll resolve outwards afterwards. So 4 chord, it's going to be my E minor chord. Got an E and a G. And now remember, it said as smooth as possible for these voices. So that's pretty smooth, right? If I just do, well, I have to be careful because if I go G right here, right? See that? Then I'll get parallel octaves, and I don't want that. So preemptively, I'm looking at that. But even if we did that, if we put the G right there, then we'd say, let's do our checks. And we have our repeated note right there, G, and they both go to F sharp, and we couldn't do that. So it's going to have to be the E. It's the root of the chord. It does place an octave here, but the octave doesn't go to another octave, and we're allowed to have that big of a space. So whether you start with a G and find it on the check, or you can preemptively see that and just go the opposite direction, you're fine. Okay, as far as roots and fifths, this is my fifth right here, and it's below both roots, so that can't be, this is a fourth, that's a fourth, no parallel fifths there. And if we set up our 1 chord, well, quite honestly, I think it's just going to be this. I'm eyeballing and I'll check. And that's kind of what you want to do too. Eyeballing is great. It's fast, it's effective, and then you do your checks. If you're good at those, then things go well. B flat, D, F sharp. Okay, here's my doubled note, splits into a third. B flat and F sharp are my root and fifth, right? And that goes down by a step, and that goes down by a third. And that one's oblique, so no problems there. All right, so just to get us there, right? Oops, right? And then here we get back to there, right? Now we have to get to here. So, smooth as possible is what we've been told, right? I can't help but feel like that guy is just going to stay there. Good old oblique, meaning non-movement, means that you won't have problems with lots and lots of parallels and things, right? This is my 4 chord. I'm going back to E. I don't have a G. I think I can just go right here, right, to fill that out. E, G, E, B, right? From here, I had F sharp and F sharp. That's my double note, and they go in opposite directions. So you're fine. Again, if you'd gone back to the E, that's okay, but you got to check it and go like, oh, I have F sharp to E, F sharp to E. So in this particular example, the alto and the bass seem to have lots of parallel motion, like pitfalls, okay, right? So, and then I have, well, that's, F sharp, because my fifth is below my root. I guess got to check right here too, B flat and F sharp. That doesn't move and that moves up, so that's going to be fine as well. And then remember, 4 to 5 is move opposite the bass step is our formula. Even if the notes weren't completely right here, it's good just to start there. Because if I go up with this, right, then I end up with parallel fifths. If I went up with these guys, although the melody is going opposite already, you would get parallel octaves. Everything moves opposite. This is a 5 chord, right? So it's going to be F sharp, and then don't forget right there to A sharp that. Otherwise, it's not a major 5. All right. Again, stop this, try and do it on your own, and then see how you did. All right. Yeah. For the beginning here, we're just going to focus on 4-part writing. So, I'm going to assign things from your book and maybe some other exercises as well to let you practice that. But remember, double the fifth, it's the bass note. Other notes move as smoothly as possible. Do your checks, right, for parallel octaves and fifths and things like that.